What's up, everyone? I'm Scott,
And I'm Jason.
and you are listening to Liquid Courage. My season is upon us. It is Christmas week. We are here.
Yes.
Hopefully, the last thing you hear before you put your head down on Christmas Eve for a warm winter's nap.
Yes. I know. And with you put the children to bed with care and with hope of Saint Nick will be there.
That's right, man. I tell you,
Yes.
it doesn't feel like Christmas.
I
It's,
had
it,
a
it's there is zero feeling of Christmas everywhere I
okay.
go. Like I'm not
Okay.
hearing, I'm not feeling. It's just it's a weird.
Now, okay, so I was a little different because I don't know what it's been in Kingman, but in Phoenix it's been colder. We've had the damp, cold air. Parts of the country, I mean, 2, 3 feet of snow, 4 feet of snow. I mean, if there was ever a year where I felt like the weather was helping do its best to make it feel like winter Christmas, this
Mhm.
was the year. And so I don't know what the weather's been like in Kingman, but I know that I felt like, wow. I mean, it's been cold in the house. It's been cold in the morning. We've even kicked on the fireplace. So we're doing our best to get that feeling because we haven't been in the feeling either. But we're getting the best opportunity we can.
Yeah, it's been cold here too, and I spent the weekend in Denver, and it's very cold there. But I don't know. I feel like there's just some years where it just doesn't feel like Christmas, and other years where it's very Christmassy. You know what I'm saying? And
Does it make a difference that the holiday falls on a Sunday?
it might be it. Because I don't feel the vibe like at work we're doing this 12 days of Christmas thing. I just don't like it's cool, but it's still not getting me. You watch the movies, you feel the Christmas vibe, and it's not. I don't know, it's just not clicking this year.
Yeah, I'm kind of over Christmas in and of itself, but my mom, you know, I think I told you that for my mom, we give her an advent calendar of little tiny gifts, so she
Hmm.
gets to open 25 gifts through from the beginning of December through. Well,
Hmm.
this is her last week. Well, because of that, she felt obligated to get us Christmas presents. So we have now 4 gifts under. Well, we don't even have a tree. We have some garland and the fireplace. So we have 4 gifts on the fireplace mantle.
Oh, that's nice.
So we have something. We have something.
Yeah, it's in. Maybe I'll get there as we get closer in the week. Maybe it's the fact that it's a Sunday, not like a random Wednesday. Um, is part of the problem because it feels like you don't actually get like a break. Because I feel like when Christmas happens in the middle of the week, like the rest of the week is a free for all. Like
Yeah.
nothing happens. It's just it's the Wild West. And then New Year's is the same way. It kind of kicks back up on the second, but it's still pretty much just done until the following Monday. And I don't know. It feels maybe that's just part of the season. It's part of getting older. I just try not to be such a Scrooge about things, but like our Christmas tree doesn't even get turned on at night, and like everyone's just so busy with life right now.
Yeah. Oh boy.
You know,
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, there's a lot of activities that are going on that just in society that just don't kind of say stop, smell the roses, appreciate the time.
yeah,
Like you got to go grocery shopping, you got to cook, you got to do things, work, you got to do, everything that's going on. You got to keep doing that. So I get it. I
and,
get it.
and and that's it too. It's like there's still stuff I need to do for Christmas itself, and it's hard to like just find the time for that and see everything else that we've already started and we have to get done here in the house. It's just it's a lot this time of year, and I think just you know prior proper planning in some areas probably would have been better, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I had a weird thing happen. So my across the street neighbor, I don't talk to him very once in a while when we're both out on the street. We'll talk briefly. I don't feel like we have a lot in common with them that we could be like, oh, hey, like, if you and Janice lived across the street, obviously we'd be hanging out, would come
Oh yeah.
over, but I don't feel that connection with him. But for Christmas, he goes, we are having Christmas. It's just going to be the two of us. I don't know what you guys are doing, but we're going to make a spiral ham and green bean casserole, and we'd love to have you if you guys aren't doing anything.
Oh
And I know that he's being, festive and trying to be polite and, maybe trying to reach out for a friendship. But I was put off. Um, we've had this conversation about neighbors in the past, and I find that today's society, it's everyone's kind of fends for themselves. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everyone kind of, and they don't really want to expand outside too much of what they're comfortable with.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd go with that. Yeah.
And no, but you know what I mean? Like, so I felt kind of bad because part of me is wondering, maybe this is the problem with our society, right? We
Hmm.
don't take someone's graciousness like that and then not only appreciate it, but then reciprocate it to the next group of
Yeah. You're not paying it
strangers.
forward like you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not expanding your world, or being open to meeting new people and to expanding your your group of friends. And maybe I'm missing out on something. That's all I could think about is, part of me was like, wow, that's really nice. I mean, he didn't have to do that. Another part of me is, dude, totally inappropriate. Like, why, why are you even talking to me like this? This is very awkward.
Well, I guess where's the inappropriateness, man? If the guy's reaching out saying, "Hey, man, if you guys don't have anything going on, if you want, my wife and I are doing this. You're more than welcome to join us." I
Yeah.
think it's a nice way to reach out. I don't think it should be putting you off. I mean, you could politely say no, if you don't want to go. But I think it's a nice gesture.
It is a nice gesture. And I'm sure if the old woman next to you that you love so much were to come over and invite you over to her house for
Now that's different
Christmas, why is that different? What's whoa, 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 whoa? What is the difference? It's the same thing.
because no, it's very different because we have documented my frustrations with this woman. You have not talked about any frustrations with this neighbor across the street.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so her being polite, overly polite with you, has caused you so much frustration that invite for dinner would be out of the question.
I would call it nosy and interfering more than overly polite, but okay, we'll agree to this.
Okay. Well, no, I think an okay distinction.
Yeah,
That's an okay distinction.
yeah. I think it's a nice gesture. But it is hard though. You're right. If it's your first time meeting somebody and they're trying to do something neighborly, maybe it's nicer to do like, hey, why don't you guys come over for a drink one night and let's just talk, sit on the back porch or whatever else, and just get to know each other, or set up some chairs in the driveway and just be neighbors like that. That might be an easier way, a better icebreaker. But some people just want to go for it on Christmas Day. More power to them.
And it gets me thinking, Scott, because so many times you hear someone who gives an opinion about how our society should work, to make it better.
Hmm.
Like, um, we should be accepting of people's charity like that and say, hey, yeah, we'd love to come over. Why are we so resistant? Or, people have an idea of what a perfect society is. And in the United States, it's kind of hard because we all have a sense of, well, we want the freedom to do whatever we want to do. Well, then, can you make a perfect society if no one adheres to a common set of values for what that society should do?
That's fair.
Like this, maybe, I mean, he's doing something that's really nice that would make our society as a whole a lot better if we were open to any sort of people, becoming part of a bigger group.
Yes.
you know but my I won't say animosity, my resistance to that uh, maybe doesn't feed into the perfect society that he is trying to generate.
Yeah, and that's also very true because your opinion, your point of view versus his point of view could be two very different things in this case, which it sounds like they are.
So I started reading this book where it was basically a science fiction book written in the early 1900s. It talked about a group of people that have decided on their own to create the perfect society, and their thoughts were twofold. One, remove any sort of disease, any sort of sadness, any sort of anger, control everything through genetics. Right? You make people that you control their anger through drugs. You only play happy themed ideas and books. You don't let them read anything from the past, because everything from the past talked into, fear, anger, jealousy, any of the emotions that we deal with on a regular basis. And the idea was, I guess, when he wrote this, was what would that be like if you're trying to make a perfect world? How perfect can it really be if you take away people's free choice
Yeah.
or take away the options for them to do? Got
Uh-huh.
me thinking. I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's possible to create a perfect society um, without having some sort of control over the entire society?
No, I don't think so. And this is very similar to that book, The Giver. I read that in high school, and they made a movie with Jeff Bridges about 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
But when you're trying to control what the society thinks and feels and wants, it never goes the way you want it to. The best intentions often go awry. You know, people act with the best intentions, what they consider the best intentions. But as we discussed earlier in the podcast, what your intentions are versus what your neighbor's intentions are two very different things. So you can't just have a blanket lifestyle where everyone's part of it or they're not, because it just doesn't. This is not a one size fits all species.
Okay. I kind of equate it to the attempts that China has over its population. I feel like when I hear stories about China, all of their unrest happens when the majority of people or a minority of people try to step outside of the control of the Chinese government.
Hmm.
Um, it's almost like that's the way I feel this book was kind of written, like that the Chinese government says, look, we know better than anybody else what makes a good society. So
Hmm.
just do what we tell you and control that, and we can do amazing things. Get out of line, step out of line, or say something outside of that control, and there's consequences.
Yeah.
And that's probably why they hate Taiwan so much, because Taiwan says, "Look, we are not you guys. They're saying no, we are Chinese. Taiwan is part of Chinese, and Taiwan saying, no, we're not. We don't think like you. We don't do anything like you." Um, I guess it depends. If you don't mind being controlled and told what to do, it probably would be a wonderful thing, right?
Well, I think those people that just want to go through life and not have to worry about anything because they're being told what to do are probably very happy in that lifestyle. There's other of us that are very strong minded and strong willed that uh, can go along for only so long before it's too much and you got to say something.
Yeah, I wondered, as I was reading this book, it's I can totally see how the book, how they sold this idea to the people by basically saying, look, you're tired of fighting, you're tired of disease, you're tired of all these things. Trust in us, and we'll remove all of that from you. We'll just
Yeah.
remove it from, and we'll just make it the perfect society where you can just live happy and just do anything you want and live work the perfect job and dance and listen to good music, and now that's very simplistic, obviously, but
Mhm.
I could see how people would say that would make me happy if we lived in a society like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you lived in a society like that where everyone got along, everything was hunky dory, and everyone, had the same group think, then if you're okay with that, yeah. But I think part of the beauty of life is that we all think differently, and we all have that ability to find common ground and build harmony amongst our different thought paths.
Yeah, well, and I could argue that that's not necessarily true. There's a lot of people who currently do not like the fact that we can think our own thoughts and make our own decisions, and would love to control that.
Oh
They
yeah,
think it would
totally.
be better. So I don't know if our society is in great shape to be able to do that, because there's a lot of people that would totally change the way that we live in the United States if they could.
Well, there's a lot of people that would change how we live, you know, in the entire world given the opportunity. But just because you can doesn't mean you should. And the reason those people consistently get stopped is because we have all these different lines of thinking and beliefs.
Right. Like if you look at an ant farm, if you look at simplistic ants, everyone has a job, they all do their job. You don't step out of line, you don't get a choice of what you do, you just do, right?
Yeah.
You have no thought process. I would even argue that even in some animals, if you're part of a wolf pack, you have certain function and responsibilities that you don't really step out of line if you want to survive
Well,
nature,
yeah,
if you want to survive out in the world. We are the only creature that has the ability to say, you know what, even though it would be better for me to work with the group to do better, I'll work on my own and I'll be fine.
yeah. I mean, and I guess the power of freedom of choice goes a long way, you know. And
Yeah, I mean,
criti-
freedom of choice, when you mean freedom of choice, um, toward a common good, right? I mean, you
well,
know,
you want to think so, but you know, it's the critical thinking skills that separate us from the other animals in the world. And at the end of the day, those critical thinking skills give us the opportunity to make the right choices, or just decide to go along with whoever wants to make the choices for us, because we see that in you know, all throughout the world. I mean, there's a lot of people that are just along for the ride, and man, whatever, it's cool, just tell me what you want me to do. And those people are great when you need some, you know, mindless stuff done. But you need to, in this world today, you need to be able to think for yourself. And if you don't like the way the flow's going, have the courage to step up and try to change the flow.
is there something to be said about, making the choice to decide anything if it goes against the betterment of our society?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, I'm
I
sure
mean,
those people who did the riot of January 6th thought they were
mhm.
doing what was in the best interest of society.
Well, that's what I was about to say. It's, you know, what we view as the best for society is subjective,
Right.
because what
Well, yeah,
you
we don't have a common understanding.
exactly. And if you see it, excuse me, if you see the world one way and I see the world a different way, our thoughts on how to make the world a better place could be two very different ways of thinking. You know.
Yeah. So, do you think that? So, it sounds like what you're saying, the control of the massive group of society, control of that group, and forcing them to think a certain way and follow a certain set of guidelines together is not as good as having everyone do whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean and I would say not letting everyone do what they want would be it's kind of a stretch too, because we have to live within the rules of our society, and I think that's where, you know, the structure of our government comes into, where we're technically electing the people that represent us to make these rules. So we're hoping that the people that represent us make the right rules that fall in line with our beliefs.
Well, I remember one time having a discussion with someone who was talking about how they didn't like the government's regulations on energy
Mm.
issues, And I said, I would totally agree with you that taking away regulations would be wonderful as long as the players on the other side did what they were supposed to do as well. Unfortunately, we find that they don't.
Yeah,
We say you have to control the emissions out of your power plant when you're dealing with plastics. Well, that's unfair. It raises the costs of producing plastics. Hey, wonderful, fantastic, but that would also require them to say, if you don't want regulations, then do it on your own. And if you don't do it on your own, then what other recourse do we have?
yeah,
So you're right. The regulations, the value system has to be agreed to and appreciated by everyone. And when someone doesn't follow the rules or follow the value system, then it leads into a problem.
and the problem that we're running into now is that the value system we're trying to establish is generally decided on by those who pay our politicians to uh, believe in what they want to believe, as long as it benefits those that are paying them to write such laws.
Well, or it takes a very loud minority to try to dictate the value system for everyone.
Yeah, that's also true. And
You know what I mean? Like they are going to dictate what is right, what is wrong, and you know sometimes the minority has a lot more power than they probably should on determining what's right or what is wrong.
oh yeah, I mean, you look at the election process and the way it is. That's why they got away from the popular vote, and they moved to the electoral vote for president, because they wanted to, quote unquote, fairly represent everybody. And you know, it has that has its own flaws with it too.
I guess the biggest fear I have is, will we ever get to a sad state of affairs where the majority say, you know what, I don't want to think anymore. You just think for me, create a perfect society, and I'll just follow along.
I think the minute we get to that, that's when it's, you know, the chaos theory happens.
Now, so what is chaos theory? Explain it to me because I've never heard of that before.
All hell breaks loose. If it can go wrong, it will.
I guess that's the question. If everyone says, "Look, I'm just going to follow whatever guidelines," like in this book, everyone was willing to just follow along. That, hey, We'll take away all the pains you ever experience. We'll take away all the risks that you have to face in this world. And all you can do is just live a happy life and enjoy your friends and just enjoy life.
Man, that's not going to happen. I mean, look what's happened over the last couple of years. We got people discrediting professional, scientists on the internet because they think they read something Reddit line that makes them scientists too. There's no way you're getting those kind of people all to agree that taking a pill will take all the pain away, and all they have to do is just live their life and enjoy it. It's
Yeah.
just,
I guess
it's
it would depend on how bad has the world gotten.
exactly.
that you're willing to
No,
cede that much control to
no,
someone. And not to mention, how do you determine who that someone is?
exactly. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people that are willing to do that, but you will never get 100% participation in such something.
Maybe that's the biggest form of arrogance, to think that some of these people think, well, I'm the person that should decide what's best for everybody.
That's the other side of it too.
You know what I mean? Because I was thinking, gosh, who would I trust right now if I looked out in the world and say, you know what, of all the people that are in the world right now, who is the person or group of people that I would trust to say, you know what, these people have the best idea of what a perfect society should look like, and I'm going to just trust them to create it.
And that's it. And
Wow, that's scary.
I'm not giving up that control. So it's
Yeah, well,
don't ask Siri. We're having a conversation.
no, she popped in because I had her. I must have pushed the button, but
So it's interesting though. It's a population difference, and it's the belief difference too. And we're probably better off not having a world like that, because books like that you just read are written more as a warning than a brochure of what can be.
yeah, I mean, I don't think, yeah, and I feel like that was what the book was. Obviously, science fiction, first of all,
Yeah,
but second of all, it was written as a cautionary tale of what does a perfect society look like. You can't read Shakespeare because that gives you too many thoughts to go outside of what we believe. You can't read history because history is bad and we only want good things.
yeah.
We get rid of all insects that carry disease so that we never have to worry about diseases. So yeah, it definitely paints a pretty bad picture.
Well, man, I tell you what. Well, you spent your weekend reading that. I was with the EP up in Denver, living our own lives and whatnot. So while you were experimenting with Perfect Society, I was out living it up with him. And
I would much rather have lived outside of a perfect society and hung out with the EP and the baritone than read the book. But you know me, I get nerdy like that and I start reading stuff.
I get it. But we,
Um,
over the weekend, we went to the Cardinal Bronco game, and we were just talking about it'd be fun to do a game somewhere new every year. And I realized on the flight home this morning that if I'm going to do that, I really can't go follow the Cardinals. I'd rather watch a random game, because if the game's bad, I can wander the stadium and check everything else out.
well, okay, and the Cardinal game was pretty bad. I mean, I don't
Well,
think
yeah,
it.
they're both terrible teams. It's late in the season, so it's a draft positioning at this point, and we got more injuries coming, so it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that's a great idea, because wouldn't that be fun too? Just one game a year, you and the EP just say, "Hey, let's go off for a weekend, spend some brotherly time together, and just kind of chill."
Exactly, or we can make it a Liquid Courage weekend too if you're able to come out and join us with some of these stadiums, maybe in your old stomping ground like Seattle. I think that's what we're looking at next year. So
Oh, okay. I the much better half would be totally open for me doing that. To pick a weekend and plan it out and go. I've only been to a couple stadiums now. I've been to SoFi, the Cardinal Stadium. I've been to well, I went to the old Kingdome. I'd never been to the to Quest
Invesco,
Field.
yeah, oh yeah.
Um, and then I went to the Superdome this year. So that was kind of fun. But there are so many other stadiums that'd be fun to go to that. Yeah, we should definitely do that.
That's kind of what I was thinking. It's like there's like 'cause I think Chicago would be a cool one to see. Seattle. There's so many different vibes and cultures all around all these teams. So just one a year. You don't have to see your team play, but just a game, just for the hell of it. I think it's fun.
Yeah, and it would be nice to see a good game. I mean, boy, would you have loved to have been in Minnesota this weekend to see that Colts game?
I,
Biggest comeback in playoff in NFL history.
I'll be honest. I would rather have been in Buffalo watching that game, because that was a good game from wire to wire. The only part of that, the only the second half was a good game, and I'd argue that wasn't a good game because it was a tale of two halves in Minnesota.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it. Okay,
Because
all right.
truth be told, we would have left at halftime in Minnesota because this game's over.
Yeah, no, we would have walked around the stadium. I thought
Yeah.
we were going to walk around the stadium.
There's that too. But as we wrap up today's show, if you have your ideas or thoughts on what you think a perfect society would be, we want to hear it. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. If you have New Year's ideas for the Denver metropolitan area, our EP wants to hear from you. Hit him up at liquid_EP at Twitter and the Instagram.
Okay, so if you want to be a nerd and you want to read this book, it's called A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. It's an older book. Like I said, it was written in the 1900s. And it's not a great book. I'm just going to be flat out honest. I don't know why they said it was one of the best books ever written, but that's neither here nor there. But if you decide you want to read it, that was the book I was referencing. So
perfect. Well, that's being said, take us home, Jason.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Since we probably will not talk to you till after the holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays to you all. That was Scott. I am Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Carnage.